Cadet Log Entry 20. While tuning up my spacecraft for another most dangerous ever assignment, I received a call from Taskmaster M. My mission? To save the galaxy from my arch rival, the Nemesis. I had my sights set on success, until I was in the sights of her heat ray!
Rat! Where'd that space cadet go? What the?
Oh, shoot!
Now, get out of my space!
Really? Why should I listen to you?
Because I
am your sister.
No!
You're in trouble now, space cadet. I'm telling.
Ah! I'm going down! Oh no! This monster's gonna eat me for
Dinner! I may have burned it a little. What happened here?
Can someone say dinner?
Hello, and welcome to Collaboratory, the show where Mike Morris improvises a storyboard with a little help from our audience, and we learn about the craft of storyboarding along the way. Mike, how are you doing today?
Hey, how's it going, man? Doing good. Things are awesome.
That's great. Well, we are looking for characters, a setting, and a conflict. So if you're joining us on Twitch, don't be shy. Feel free to jump in with prompts and questions about storyboarding.
Please, yes, we need a character, we need a conflict, and we need a setting. So we are asking for your participation to give us a little bit of that, and then we'll put something together.
And, this is our first Collaboratory of 2021, and with the new year comes New Year's resolutions. So I really wanted to ask you questions about screen resolution. No, actually, I'm really curious about improvement. So, Mike, in your experience, what separates a talented but inexperienced storyboard artist from someone with a lot of experience?
Oh, that's a good question. I think one of the things is shot choice and the psychology kind of underlying shot choices. I think an experienced board artist will take a script or take a story and know when to cut in tight, when to be wide, when to pan. I think a lot of it just comes down to film grammar and being familiar with it. A lot of up-and-coming board artists, they're really great at drawing. They're really great at making stuff that's really funny. But getting that set down into a film sometimes can be, something that needs a little bit more of a workover.
And Mike, I also want to point out that one of your former students is in the chat. The handle is Chaos Thoughts.
Cool. Hey, what's up? Chaos Thoughts. I'm not sure who Chaos Thoughts could be.
Yeah. Well,
who are you, Chaos Thoughts?
Apparently, the name is Kunal.
Oh, Kunal. Hey, what's up, man? We need suggestions, dude. Give it to me. I always kind of default into Invader Zim every so often.
Yes.
Yeah. What a great show.
Well, our last Collaboratory was very space themed. So maybe we want to go back down to Earth, or maybe we want to explore space some more. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. If storyboarding, the sky's the limit. Well, no, the sky's not the limit. There is no limitation.
Space.
You can go into space. Exactly. You can go into space. We can go into the deepest, darkest of jungles. We could go into a world created entirely of marshmallows. We could go into any number of different environments. I mean, heck, we can take the lid off of it and see what comes out of the jar. We just need somebody to make a suggestion. So what do we got?
Well, while we're waiting for, I can see Derek's typing.
First of all, we need a character.
More suggestions. Mike, how have you improved as a storyboard artist over your career? Like, what are some things that you've learned that have changed the way that you think about how you compose shots and develop storyboards?
I've had a lot of really great teachers and mentors and coworkers and peers that have taught me a ton of great stuff. I'm actually right now working with Mark Kirkland, one of my mentors from The Simpsons, who taught me a lot about shot clarity and making sure that your ideas are clear. You can have beautifully acted, beautifully rendered images, but if it's not clear to your audience what's going on, all of that doesn't matter at all. So clarity and communication in your storytelling is so key, and I think that's one of the things I really learned from Mark specifically. Also, getting down to the underlying emotional content behind something. I mean, they talk about in script writing classes about subtext, about story classes, but subtext is so important. I mean, you go back to the Illusion of Life book that Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston did. What is the character thinking? What are they feeling? What's going through their head? Are they being straightforward? Are they being subversive? Are they being, are there emotions on their sleeve, or is there some internal struggle going on that we don't see? And I think putting that into your storyboards really, really helps out. And knowing what the point of a scene is, what the story point is, and not just doing pretty drawings. You know what I mean? That I think is one of the essences of storytelling. Storyboard is just another way to storytell. So if you're a good storyteller, you're taking that that idea of spinning a yarn around a campfire or whatever, and putting that into a visual form. And with that visual form comes other kinds of influences, like the aforementioned subtext. We can see and not just hear the tale.
All right, I've got some characters and maybe a conflict for you. All right, we've got a baby. We've got a bird. We've got two friends getting into trouble in a public park. And we've got a very overprotective dog with a small child.
I suppose I'll join the conversation for a bit so that you're not alone.
I appreciate that, Derek.
So for people who don't know, my name is Derek. I'm the product marketing manager here at Toon Boom. Also help run the community. And yeah, we're going to hang out here. We're answering some questions. Someone was asking us what kind of tablet they can use with our software. So I was just answering that in chat. If you guys have any questions for us, please feel free to ask. Yeah. Ooh, someone has a question. So what would be the main difference between adult material and animation for kids? What do we think of that?
I'd say the biggest difference would be the intended audience. Kids at different levels of development, there's a lot of research into what they're able to respond to and what is age appropriate, so that there are certain concepts that kids at different age levels can understand. When you're dealing with adult content, you might want to have themes that might be more difficult for younger audience to understand, or just things they might not come into contact with.
Ooh. Chaos Thoughts is asking, what is a good resource or book for learning the terms, like pan out, pan in, truck out, and some examples? I think you have some good resources, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of books on animation, but if you're looking for books like how to compose shots, you want to look at books that are about cinematography. I think there's one called Master Shots that's really good. There's a collection of those books, and I've heard that they're a phenomenal resource for learning the language of cinematography.
Yeah. We have tons of examples. Ooh, I'm gigantic on both streams. I should fix that. I always love technical difficulties. What's going on? There we go. Fix that. Yeah. So yeah, if you guys have any other questions about animation, Mike's more experienced with animation than I am, but we've been working for Toon Boom for a long time. Ooh, someone's recommending The Visual Story by Bruce Block. I haven't heard of that. Have you?
No, I haven't heard of that one, but we should take a look.
Yeah, definitely we should. Hopefully Mike Morris will be back soon. I should check in with him, see where he is. It's funny because before the stream we were like, we won't have any technical issues, and then of course, something happens.
Well, yesterday I was having issues with my internet too, so
yeah, both of us were.
I have a question for everybody in the chat. Who here has done storyboarding before? How many reviewers are storyboard artists?
That's a good question. Because we know a lot about ourselves, but we know nothing about chat. Oh, there's one person. The Real Jurassic Pork says he's a storyboarder. Or he's done storyboarding. Oh, learning to be one. That was Kunal. Oh, someone's an animator and a storyboard artist. That is, again, Real Jurassic Pork. That's really cool. We're hoping Mike Morris is back soon. Until then, we'll just keep answering questions. I wouldn't call myself a storyboarder, but I have done some for a project. I'm getting better. I mainly animate. Well, animation and storyboard. Very, 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 very tied together there. Asaf says he's a Ricker animator by trade, and he does very little storyboarding, and he's just getting into it.
Yeah, I've seen Asaf's work on Instagram, and his stuff is phenomenal.
Yeah, we have some crazy talented people in our community. Every time I open our Discord and I see some of the stuff people post, it's insane. I am so jealous of how talented some of you guys are.
Yeah, well, I've been looking at all the rigs that were submitted to the community rig review that Lindsay was going through.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah,
I've been blown away. I love that. Who made that one hot dog rig?
Oh, I forgot the name of the person, but yeah, that's so crazy. And last week, or not last week, but shortly before the break, when we did the one with Katie, her deer, that was crazy impressive. There's some crazy impressive rigs out there, and crazy impressive like art out there.
And you get really good feedback too. One of the things I really like about our customer success team is that these are the people that we send to major studios around the world, and they provide troubleshooting when a production doesn't know what they're going to be doing with a rig, or if they have something that they know they want to do, but they're not sure exactly how to achieve it in a way that works with animation and compositing.
Yeah. Here's a question. Do you have any stories or recommendations on breaking into the storyboarding world? I do graphic design for work and storyboard in my free time. I practice mainly right now with Storyboard Pro and making my own comics for my company's site. I mean, you're already practicing. That's a good start, honestly.
Yeah. We do post interviews at blog.toonboom.com. So if you are curious about what other people have been through, hearing about how people have broken into the industry, I feel like that's a really valuable resource.
Yeah, not only that, but Mike interviewed, my memory's shot, but I think it was shortly before the Christmas break.
Right?
I think it was shortly before the Christmas break. We had a live interview on Twitch with Stephanie Alexander, who's a great.
Oh yeah, she's fantastic.
And she actually went through how she got started in the industry. She had tons of good examples of community resources. She's also a community MVP, so she hangs out on her server. If you ever want to ask her something directly, she's insanely resourceful. And Mike and her had a great interview. Ooh, someone enrolled in our training courses that start at the end of the month. While that's mentioned, we are having training courses going right now, and they are available for everyone to sign up for if anyone's interested in that. Chaos Thoughts, if you want to find a link to our Discord, it's in our channel description down below. And her name on Discord is Stephanie Alexander. You'll find her as, I think her exact name is Stephanie Animates.
Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
Hey, sorry about that. I had a network outage.
No problem.
It's okay. That was me yesterday.
Oh, man. Now I wonder where I put my pen. Here it is.
No rush.
Okay. Let's get this back on track, huh? So what in my absence has gone on?
Oh, we're just helping people with chat questions. Yeah.
There's a really good question that we had, which is, what are some resources that you've come across for learning how to compose shots? I was mentioning there are some resources like the book series Master Shots that's about cinematography more than storyboarding, but it'll teach you the language of filmmaking. Are there any that you've come across?
Norman LeMay has a really great site, Grizz and Norm, where you can get a lot of tips about drawing and a lot of tips about composing shots, like why to do different shots. I mean, this guy was the head of story for Frozen 2. So, I mean, he knows what he's talking about. He's been around for a long time. I've only met him like once. Super nice guy. Yeah, that's a really great resource. If you can find a copy of Composing Pictures by Don Graham, that's a really great book. That's one of my goals this year is to finally read it all the way through. You know, because sometimes you go in and you look at stuff as more of a reference than you do is like reading it from cover to cover. So that's one of my goals this year is to read that cover to cover. Let's see what else. Gosh, there's a lot, but they're not coming to my mind at the moment.
All right, Mike, did you hear all of the characters that we listed earlier before you cut out?
We had Baby and Bird.
Yeah.
I heard that one. So that's kind of what I have at the moment is Baby and Bird.
All right, that works.
What else do we have?
We had some other suggestions. One was two friends getting into trouble in a public park. And one is a big dog being overprotective of a small child. And I think those are both things that could potentially come into play in this scene.
All right. Well, how about we keep with the park?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep with the park. We've got Baby, Bird, and Big Dog. How about that?
I think that works. 3 characters.
Okay, cool. So we need to start off with an establisher. So I'm thinking something with a bit of a lower angle. Let's just start with more of a gray color, and we'll establish our ground planes. And then maybe let's do like a foreground slide. So we have something like that we're seeing. Over here we can do in the foreground like a swing set and maybe like one of those fun little bits of like sand pit barrier. A lot of now here in California, at least, they're using wood chips instead of sand because people were burying stuff in the sand and it would be sharp. People said bury a rock or whatever, and some little kid gets hurt or something, and then all of a sudden,
local cat uses it as a litter box.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we can have this slide right here in the foreground. And then, of course, we need something to trap your eye in on the other side. And what is better to do that in a nature setting than a giant tree? Have a horizon line back here.
Mike, when you draw trees, does your default go to sort of circle trees or triangle trees?
I think it just depends on the setting. I mean, really, in a setting like this, I would say something more of like a pepper tree, even, in this sort of situation, or like a large oak, or something that you would see more in a park setting as opposed to like a forest type setting.
Hmm.
To me, I don't necessarily default to like a conical shaped tree or a more round, fluffy shaped tree like this. It's more along the lines of what is appropriate for the particular setting that I'm going for. All right, and let's have like a picnic sort of I don't know, picnic blanket.
A picnic basket?
A picnic basket with a picnic blanket. Then we'll put some other little goodies here. They have these little dealios on the top. You got to make sure that everything is nice and stable.
Hmm.
So we get rid of some extra lines. And then in the background, and I'm going to use just my textured brush, and I'm going to do the draw behind, so we can just keep bushes and stuff more in the realm of just a background element or anything else. We don't necessarily have to be specific about what this is, but we know that it's something back there, If you want to get a little bit more specific, we could maybe even just add like a couple little hints here and there of like.
Hey, Mike, we have a question in the chat. Because you have a lot of experience in both adult animation and in kids animation, are there obvious differences when you're storyboarding for kids and adult animation?
Yes. And again, it always depends on the show, but when you're doing stuff for a more primetime show, they tend to flatten out their staging quite a bit. Like mostly for comedic purpose, because flat is funny, as they say, and that's often the case. That flatter, sort of less dynamic drawings tend to be a little bit more funny. But then you've got shows like Final Space, which are just like, yeah, we're gonna do both. We're gonna do like ultra dynamic staging here and there, but we're also gonna do like stuff that's a little bit more flat. And we can put like one of those little rides, like with the turtle or
spring horse or something.
Yeah, the spring horse. That's what I'm looking for.
Just things that like injure so many children.
Yes. Spring horses. But the spring horse is going to make for a nice little foreground element.
Yeah.
Foreground elements like this will give you depth. And depth is always a good thing. Especially if you're going to do like a push in of some kind. And all right. So now we need some characters. I'm gonna take all of this stuff and cut it and paste it back in the background. And let's get some characters on here. So we need Big Dog, right?
There's a big dog, there's a bird, there's a baby.
Bird and baby. So here we have baby. We're gonna put baby right here in this nice little sweet spot. And in the background, we're going to just push these plants back a little bit for some added clarity on baby. So baby, and let's break down a little bit of a more baby-like position. Okay, so big dog. I'm thinking just,
Oh yeah.
big, like giant, fat golden retriever.
In my experience, there are two types of golden retrievers. There are the very active ones, and there are ones that are kind of like big rugs.
That's funny. In this case, this will be of the latter variety. He'll just
It's a
be
big dog.
big, obedient lump of a thing. You know, just active, wagging tail as he just waits for something to do with the kid. And then the kid, I'm just gonna very quickly change the color on that. The kid is going to be eating some crackers, I think. Let's give him a little. So, from the chat, boy or girl? For this little baby.
Well, we're waiting for a response to that.
I think you should pick. We don't have any response. You should pick. What's it going to be?
All right. It's a boy.
It's a boy. Okay. So then we're going to put a little hat on him. What do you say we even put the little propeller on top? How about that?
Yeah. Beanie hat is classic.
And then he's got some food. You know, he's just about the age where one would think walking is starting to be an option.
This is advanced baby. This is getting into toddler territory.
Yeah, just like I'm thinking, like 10 months. Then of course, big head equals baby because that's just how humans work. We start off life with big heads and big eyes, and if you want to make something look adorable, then big head and big eyes. That's the way to go. Let's give him like a little tube or like little package of crackers. Right there.
Are we talking about like saltines? Are we talking club crackers?
Oh, definitely club crackers. It's the buttery flavor that draws you in, right? And we'll give him maybe like a bucket, like a digging bucket.
A little pail.
Yeah, a little pail, and maybe like a bulldozer truck toy. Because when I go to the park with my son, that's what he likes to play with. Okay, so we've got giant big dog, we've got little baby, and then we need a new shot. So this one is going to be a down shot through the trees. And I'm gonna get my background layer here going like that, and let's make a down shot. Because we need to introduce our bird and the conflict therein, which I've sort of surmising it has a very high probability of being a contested cracker.
Hey, Mike, one thing that a lot of students hear is that they need to practice to improve, but doing the exact same thing can reinforce mistakes. Do you have any advice for practicing storyboarding effectively?
Yes. I think as an artist, you should always be trying to break new ground. And by that, I mean that you should do things that you're maybe not good at or comfortable with. And another thing is to really, really try not to be constantly comparing yourself with others. You need to compare yourself against yourself. And I think that is a much more healthy way to go about things. But I think just practicing is absolutely the thing that you should focusing on. It's and in my lazier moments, I feel myself backsliding a little bit, and then it's time to sharpen the saw up again. And you do that by just drawing, by just inventing, being creative, looking at what you're doing and saying, do I like this, and if so, why? Or do I not like this, and if so, why not? Do I feel like my compositions are getting more dynamic or more static? Are they enforcing story points that I need to be bringing up? Are they getting into the territory where I need to start thinking about overhauling my approach? Like, am I thinking about this the right way? Is often something that I have to sort of reinforce with myself. Like, I had a sort of a cheat sheet here of things that I want to always remember when I'm boarding. It's post-it note that's falling off. Here's one that I have. Are you tipping the joke / story point? Are you giving away what your audience is supposed to be laughing at? Is the timing helping to tell the story, make it funnier? So that's another thing to bring up in boarding, is especially with Storyboard Pro, it's so easy to make animatics with. The Race Around the Moon was entirely done in Storyboard Pro. There's no editing software involved. But timing is something that is largely underrated with a lot of board artists. But timing definitely is a make or break for funny quite often. And again, what is the character thinking and feeling? So in this scene, we're going to introduce our bird after we do a couple of little deals. We've got down shot of big dog. He looks really dumb there. Let's fix that. Draftsmanship is important. I mean, it's not the penultimate importance, but I think it's important, because if you cannot draw what you want to show, then you're going to have a hard time getting your story point across. So I think it's very important and worthwhile to work on one's draftsmanship, just as far as being able to show things clearly. And again, with Storyboard Pro, makes things really malleable. The vector drawing just really makes things easy to shift and move and adjust if necessary.
You save a lot of time when you otherwise would have to do a lot of redraws.
Oh yeah, I mean, when I was first on the Simpsons, we were doing everything by paper. I can't remember the countless hours that I've stood at a copy machine just trying to get the right size on something. And here you just grab it, make it bigger, make it smaller, mess it around, rotate it and whatever. It saves so much time.
Are there any drawing or storyboard practice exercises that you recommend, or would the exercise be just find more things to storyboard?
There's always the bomb exercise, which was another Mark Kirkland thing that was brought to my attention. Are you familiar with that?
No.
So the storyboard premise is this: you have two characters sitting at a table. They're discussing whatever. They could be at a diner, they could be outside at a bistro, they could be whatever, or it could be a single character sitting at a table just enjoying a cup of something. And we reveal to the audience that there is a ticking time bomb under the table. Okay. So the setup is danger. And then you have another character who is trying to warn the other character, whether it be the two people sitting at a table, and the one says, "Oh my gosh, there's a bomb underneath the table. What are we gonna do?" And the other one says, "Nah, whatever, dude. I'm not falling for this crap again." And then it becomes like a not a philosophical argument, but it becomes an argument whether or not there is in fact something at the table or under the table, or there's one person sitting at the table and the other person is trying their darndest to get their attention but unable to do so. So you have to see what lengths this person is willing to go to try and get the other person's attention and drag them out of harm's way. So that's a really fun storyboard exercise, just because you are giving the audience something that they are aware of that the characters are not. There's a term there's a term for that too.
Yeah. That really reminds me of the Hitchcock quote about the difference between surprise and suspense. Whereas you have two people at a table and a bomb goes off, that's surprise, if the audience isn't aware of it. But if the audience knows there's a bomb counting down and they can see it counting down, suddenly they're in on it.
Yeah, exactly. And it creates drama, it creates suspense, it creates stakes, which you always want in a story. That's why we have to have in any storytelling some sort of conflict. Otherwise, it's not necessarily all that fun to watch. Even in historical dramas and things like that, there's always some sort of conflict to overcome. I don't know if that tells more about we as people needing conflict in our lives, or if it's just the way that the world works. But all right, so downshot, we have the kid. We've got let's put that pail. Let's see. Let's go back and reference the other shot. Yeah, it's in this corner. We'll put this little shovel right here in the car, or the little truck right here. We're not gonna make a big deal out of it. We've had a bunch of times, and now enter the bird. So I'm just gonna take and clip a little bit off of that, and we are going to have ourselves a bird come in. Switch brushes.
You're mentioning earlier that one of the things you want to do is compare yourself to your previous work and see if you're improving. As someone who's worked as a director and supervisor, do you have any advice for giving feedback or for praising your own work?
For giving feedback, there's my biggest policy is just honesty. Because if you're telling somebody, what they want to hear, or telling somebody, "Oh yeah, you're great, don't worry about it," or something like that, they're not going to learn anything. If something's wrong, you have to tell somebody. If something's not working right, it's your duty even as a friend, to tell them hey, I don't think this is working right. Maybe there's a different approach, or something. But
sort of you got some spinach in your teeth.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a thing to say, "Oh, you're horrible. You should quit now," and leave. I don't think that's the issue at all. I think it's more of you need to be forthright, and even if you're wrong about it, you admit if you're wrong. "Oh, I didn't know what you were going for, so sorry about that. My bad. My advice wasn't as great as it could have been." But just be honest with your feedback with people, and you'll find that that's more appreciated than anything else.
Yeah. You mentioned the sticky note on your desk. Was there any other advice that you got that had a really big impact on the way that you work?
Yes.
Good
One of
answer.
my teachers years ago. Um, his name was his name was Fritz Lutz. He was an artist that worked at Disneyland in the watch shop, and I remember he told me before. It's like he pulled me aside and he said, "I've taught a lot of classes, and I've seen a lot of kids come through, and there are a few people that I can see right out the gate that they have the potential to turn pro." And he told me, "I think you have that potential. Don't waste it."
Hmm.
And he said that like there's always people out there that are going to want to do the same thing that you do. That there's only so many spots. So be the best that you can possibly be. Another thing, and I'm gonna be going through a couple of the people that I know that have passed on. The late great Dave Creek,
Hmm.
who was one of the instrumental character designers in Bob's Burgers, and a good friend of mine also from school. And I told this story to some people not long ago, but he helped me out quite a bit when I was going through school at CalArts, and trying to find myself as an artist. See, like, because there's the things that you like, or there's the things that you relate to very easily, but there's some things you don't like need or necessarily really know about yourself as an artist. Starting out, and it leads to a lot of self doubt. I think that's where a lot of those films come from that are kind of like oh, woe is me, I'm so bad at this, I'm never going to be good or whatever. And a lot of that, I think, is just people doubting themselves and their own abilities, or not being able to see farther into their process of developing,
Hmm.
or not having faith that they will. And it's kind of a bummer, but we all go through it, and it's not a unique experience. um, but it is something that we all just sort of like pass through. Let's duplicate that, and then I'm just gonna take this and like move it here, and then let's get rid of the wings. But when I was doing this journey of self-discovery myself, I would go into Dave's cubicle and ask him for advice, ask him for help. Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And he was always very honest with me about stuff, and I really appreciated that. And one of the things that I was having kind of a really rough time with one particular shot, and he's like, "Is this what you want?" And I said, "I don't know if it's what I want." And he says, um, "Is it the best you can do? Are you satisfied with it, or are you settling?" That's what he said. "Are you satisfied with it, or are you settling?" And I said, "I might be settling." And he said, "That's a problem." Um, and he helped me sort of realize like when I'm settling for something, or when it's something that I really intended to do. You know, that's I think a big difference. If you're getting to where your work is what you set out and intended to do, I think that's huge. That's big.
Hmm.
When you're not just settling to say, "Oh yeah, well it's good enough." I think it's fine. You know, not what you necessarily wanted, but it's good enough to get by. And I'll always be grateful for Dave's advice and his guidance. And I miss the guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got that. Now let's go back, and I'm going to add just a little bit for some interest of just a little squash drawing. Just so it keeps it alive, you know. I think also it would behoove every story artist to actually learn how to animate at least a little bit. I think that is really important to understand, because understanding the medium is a way to improve, you know. Like if you're I've known some people that were just layout artists, just story artists,
Mm.
but they didn't really know like the actual nuts and bolts of how animation worked, and I think they did themselves quite a disservice, not understanding those principles. So animate every so often, and it'll give your work that little extra bit of life, right? And I'm just gonna go like that. Just skew. Skew is also a very helpful tool. So jump in, boop, and then just a couple quick pecks, because birds peck, and I think that's an easily recognizable thing that you can have your audience do to see, oh, my bird, the bird we have here is hungry. Then I'm also going to take these eyeballs and deselect this guy if I can, and just turn them on an axis right here. Skew them just a little bit.
That's a clever trick.
And I'm gonna take that and sort of move it here. It's a time saving trick more than anything else. It's not too jarring, I hope. And maybe just move that a little bit so it doesn't look so funky. Okay, so boop 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 boop. And so we're gonna repeat these, just cycle them like a couple times. And let's take this. So, boom. I'm gonna undo some of that because I found an error, Mike. No, I found an error because these legs don't look connected now.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
We're just gonna lift that up, and we're just gonna shorten this up because we wouldn't really see it. So now it looks more along the lines of him foraging a bit.
Yeah, there's a tilt.
There's a tilt on that axis, you know, like one of those ones that dips in the water.
Frankie Bird.
Yeah, there you go.
Remember an episode about that?
Oh yeah, of The Simpsons.
Why?
Huh?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one. All right, so boop 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 boop. And again, we're gonna just do a little bit to change the cadence here. So he's gonna go up, down, up. This time, he's not gonna go up quite as much. So we're gonna bend him down just a slight tad. That way, you get a little bit of extra character for cheap. See what I mean? So he gets up, peck, peck. I didn't have to do a ton of effort in that drawing, but you still get the idea that, you know, he's pecking without having to go all the way back up. And let's copy and paste that. And then down here, we are going to have the baby take a bite. So baby hasn't really been doing anything. So we're going to take that. Let's just sort of get rid of some of those lines and stuff that we don't need in favor of new ones. Color hat, oops. then cracker. You know, what sort of came to mind a minute ago was from Incredibles 2, the raccoon fight.
Mm.
Talk about a masterclass of fun action. You know, it was so good. And then we're going to have a quick bite down. As the cracker goes into the mouth.
Of course, you're showing this happen in sequence. You're giving the audience a chance to look at the kid eating the cracker and not only the bird.
Yes. So what we also need to think about too is motivation. How does the bird even know that that's around? You know, he's going to hear the crunch. And then all of a sudden it's like, you know. So again, you have to have a logical sort of progression in your communication. Like, why do people do things? You have to have almost generally a stimulus that evokes the response, you know? So, and that looks like a derpy drawing right there. So we're just going to tilt the head forward a little bit. So we get a bit more of a
Bite.
Yeah, and then stick that arm in, fix these arms. So they look like they're actually shoving food in the kid's face. With the existing vectors, we can just change a lot and just fix what we don't, you know, just fix what we need to. Boom. And then we can cut, because we don't want to have to necessarily keep drawing all of this. So we're going to cut, and we're going to cut on motion, kind of. Or no, this is actually more technically known as a hookup. Okay. So we're going to get back that big brush, and I'm going to make it even bigger. We're going to get some good background foliage and leave. I think we're going to leave some like holes in it, just so it looks like tree. You know, the inside of a tree.
Yeah, kind of organic.
I don't know how many kids like climb trees very much anymore. I don't know if that's just something that kids do or not do anymore. But inside, there's.
I feel like trees still exist in most parts of.
Yeah, but is the process of climbing trees like as attractive of an option as it used to be with, you know, Fortnite around? That's my bigger question.
I feel like you could probably play Fortnite inside a tree fort.
You know what? I think that might be the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
All right, and then again, we need a foreground element to give us some depth. So we're going to put some larger leaves or something right here. And then maybe some extra mid-ground foliage. And then we're going to put our bird. Wrong brush. We're going to put our bird still pecking.
I love your fill brushes, by the way. They're fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I think it's fun to mess with some of the textures and things with these brushes because, you know, you can. And they're pretty fantastic. Okay. So let's zoom out a little bit. Just a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to cut that in half. And then in this case, I'm just going to delete this whole bird and redo a new drawing of it. Sometimes you need a new drawing. And in this case, we do. So now this is our friend the bird getting alerted to something else out there. Maybe we'll give him just a little bit more of a surprised look on his face. Like, because recognition comes before searching.
Mm-hmm.
You have to recognize that there's something going on before you'll be like, oh, I'm going to look for that. You know, what is making that noise? First, you have to show you hear the noise, then you can look
Aha.
around. See, and that's part of clear communication. A lot of storytelling is set up, payoff, set up, payoff, set up, payoff. You know, if you don't set something up, you can't pay it off. So you have to set up recognition, then search, then find. That's kind of like the process that a lot of this sort of work goes through. Because if you come up and if I was to have this character come up and immediately see it, like where's the gratification in that? You know, where's the your audience isn't going to buy it. They're going to see it and be like, oh, that was a little too convenient because, you as the creator already had it in your mind where this story is going. But your audience won't necessarily have that same.
You want the characters to seem as if they're thinking and reacting to things around them.
Exactly. You don't want it to seem too convenient. You know what I mean? I think that's a good way to put it. Like, we've all seen bad movies here and there, and a lot of the stuff that makes a bad movie bad is lack of motivation for things that happen. The character just goes from one thing to the next without really going through any sort of the process to get there. Because like it's in the script, and so that should be done that way. No, that's not necessarily the case. Like, you have to make sure that your characters feel properly motivated, and I don't like
What's
that.
motivation?
Motivation here is to figure out what that sound is and where it's coming from.
So we're at 5 o'clock now. Do you want to run through all the different panels and just take a look at how this has progressed?
Okay. Yeah. We didn't actually get to the meat of the story due to my unfortunate outages in internet service. But I can hope you can surmise what the setup is. Is that bird's going to try and steal that cracker from the kid. But yeah, let me just go through that really quick after I finish this little drawing.
Yeah. Well, I feel like even though we didn't get to the conflict yet, we did learn a lot.
We did a lot of talking.
Covered a lot of ground. We did a lot of talking, and I feel like that's really, the real treasure was the friends that we made along the way. The real crackers were the friends that we made along the way.
And you're a conversationalist too, Mike. I really appreciate that about you.
Well, it's
Oh. We can even like make that a little bit more stark. Like what? And then I'm just gonna take this really quick and use our wonderful cutter tool, just as a quick and dirty solution. Give it a little look over. And take the draw behind off. All right. Sometimes you can just manipulate your vectors to cover things that need to be covered. There we go. All right, so setup, public park. And just as a quick little thing, another thing we can do to add a bit of atmosphere is give a little bit of tone to the foreground to separate it from the background. So we're going to grab this brush, make it just a little darker. Grab that there. Can I use a bit of silhouette on this slide? And then even get a little bit into some texture in the sand. That way, when we look, our eye is going to naturally go down towards here. Then just opaque those characters really quick. Right. One more trick is when you're working with different colors, you can use this select by color tool and just get rid of your construction lines. So layer, generate auto matte. Boom, they are matted now. All right, then we got a down shot. In comes the bird. Pack, pack, pack. And then crunch. And then what? What at? You know. And then we'll go into some sort of we need. Let's copy this one, duplicate that, put it at the end, and then we're going to watch him down, and we can, just for a little visual extra, we can make it not exactly like the other one, but still use several of the elements that we've already drawn. By, again, just manipulating the vectors a little bit. So we've got...
Yeah, it's really a huge time saver.
Ooh, that. And you can even go one further and have the initial one be sort of like, you know, still looking around a little bit. And then looks close up of baby face. Of course, you need to do this from the bird's point of view. So down shot again. And then we see Cookie. Or Cracker.
And that one tooth chomping down.
Yeah, and that one tooth chomping down. Then we can even take it one step further and duplicate that, but separate it out into its own thing. Oops.
So, Mike, we're running out of time. Do you have any projects that you would like to mention?
Yes, actually, on YouTube still is Cartoon Crunch streaming on the Wacom channel that we did in association with Toon Boom. It also features Storyboard Pro and Harmony in its execution of the cartoons. Basically, we took 1 week. We made 2 cartoons with 8 artists and teams of 4, and we go through the entire process of making an animated short. in the course of 1 week. It's a good show. I got to host it, which was great. So if you want to know a little bit more about the process of making cartoons, there are excellent things to cover in there. So please give it a watch. Again, that's Cartoon Crunch on YouTube's Welcome channel.
All right, and I want to thank everyone for watching this episode of Collaboratory. If you're interested in trying out Storyboard Pro, you can download a 21 free trial on our website at toonboom.com. I also wanted to mention that our next session of instructor-led training starts on January 25th. There's still time to sign up for select courses, but space is limited. You can find more details at toonboom.com/training. And this Thursday, in a morning slot at 9 a.m. Eastern, Mario Lassell will be hosting another art stream. Definitely tune in if you're interested in learning about traditional digital animation workflows, from rough animation to cleanup to coloring to compositing. And that's all for this episode. So thank you again for joining us, and until next time.
See you, everybody.